Good evening, everyone. I acknowledge the Sianu and Suk First Nations on the homelands we work. This acknowledgement is one small part of supporting Indigenous communities as we continue to listen, learn, and support truth and reconciliation. Welcome to the Finance meeting of June 3rd, 2024. Please be sure to have your cell phones turned off during the meeting. There'll be two meetings this evening. The Finance meeting will be first, followed by the Council meeting, and each will have public participation. Committee, we have an agenda before you. Are there any additions or changes to this agenda? Moved by Mayor Little, seconded by Councillor Gray. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We have no presentations, but we do have public participation. Is there anyone in the community that would like to speak at the mic? If so, please state your name and the street in which you live.
Jim McPherson, Eagle Tree Place. My wife and I have lived in Matilda since 1999. Our first tax bill after we moved into the house was for $2,646. The tax bill crossed the $3,000 threshold in 2001, but except for 2 exceptional years, it took another 20 years until 2020 for the tax bill to exceed $4,000. Over the last 2 years, our tax bill has increased by over $1,100 to approximately $5,500 this year. I recognize that calculating a tax bill is a complicated process and that the tax bill reflects assessment and has to account for many variables such as inflation. Nevertheless, I want to highlight the relative tax stability over the 2005-2022 period. That was a period when much attention, some say too much, was paid to road paving. New subdivisions were opened up, for example, Ash Mountain. New equipment purchased by the fire department, and the old school was purchased. Clearly, things happened, and they happened within a philosophy of fiscal responsibility, refusal to go into debt, and generally minimal increases in residential property taxes. One can disagree over the priorities that were set. Some things not done probably should have been done, and I think we all could have afforded a bit more tax in order to avoid what came later. My point is that major expenditures were paced to reflect revenues. If you stand back, it's remarkable how little Metchosin has changed in the last 20 or 25 years. What has changed, particularly during the past 2 years, has been the abandonment, as far as I can see, of fiscal prudence and minimal tax increases amid a flurry of priority actions that just have to be done and done now. A year or so ago, Council went through a strategic planning exercise with the results made public. I see no signs, however, that results of that strategic planning were applied to this budget. Instead, it seems individual promises and pet projects were collected into a package for immediate action. And the province, of course, gave lots of enticements. It doled out grant money by the boatload. Most grant money represents a cost-shared approach, and the municipality grasped at the opportunity to get in on the gravy train of studies, plans, and projects that could have been done at half the price, except that we have to pay for the other half. What I would ask Council is that you severely restrict and curb the unsustainable tax increases of the past 2 budget years, learn to pace expenditures in accordance with revenues, and if possible, try to return to some years of tax stability. I would also like to comment on the municipal tax statement we all received this past week. The statement shows 9 entities under other taxing authorities. 8 of these authorities have legal underpinnings. The 9th item, police tax, is not an independent taxing authority. It is part and parcel of the municipality's tax bill and should be included under municipal taxes. Reiterating once again, municipal taxes have increased this year not by 7.1%, but by 9.8%. To show police tax as an other taxing authority is bizarre. Some have used much, much stronger language. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have comments this evening? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the adoption of minutes, page 3. This is the adoption of the Finance Committee meeting of May 6, 2024.
Move adoption.
Moved by Councillor Schiffman, second by Councillor Epp. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And on page 7, Special Finance Committee meeting of May 27th.
Move adoption.
Moved by Councillor Epp, second by Councillor Schiffman. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And receipt of the minutes of page 11 for the Agriculture Advisory Select Committee of May 15th. Move to receive by Mayor Little, seconded by Councillor Schiffman. Any questions? Councillor Gray.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. I'm just wondering, I'm seeing on item 7A, the Peninsula Area Agricultural Commission, who we fund, is lobbying for more housing on farmland. What would that be about?
That came as part of the report for the Peninsula Agricultural what's the acronym for it? Committee. I'm not sure why they're asking for a third house. It's not something that I understand either.
Okay.
So I can look into that for you.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think just given our situation, it may be solely related to the peninsula, but housing on farmland is somewhat limited through the Agricultural Land Commission and other things, but I wonder what they're up to. The second one I wondered about is a reference under 8A, agritourism.
Mm-hmm.
And just I'm curious, tent pads, et cetera, could be coordinated through the main farm. Is this the idea of having tent pads at farms separate from the, I guess this is in relation to Keating Farm and Bilston Creek Farm. Is it the idea of putting tent pads in different farms, like at short-term vacation rentals?
Similar to that, yes. Bilston Creek Farm has that now. They're much smaller than the yurts. They're the canvas tents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. People call that glamping. But apparently that is allowed in the agritourism. They're little.
Yeah, I think with item number 7A, the PAC was concerned that Senate Council had allowed Gila Farms to use agricultural land for storing of vehicles. And they thought better that the land could be used for additional residences for farm workers. I think that's where it came from.
And although Robin had given that report with the addition of the PAC is lobbying for more housing on ALR.
Okay.
So not sure what those changes are. I only remember the reporting from Ms. Zimmerman when she presented to council. So this might be something Councillor Schiffman.
As much as you're aware, Councillor Donaldson, has the membership in PAC been settled? Because we had nominated Kathleen Zimmerman, and I don't know whether she's on the board yet, or on the committee yet. Are you aware?
So I'll defer that to Mary. She was following up with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether that has all been settled. It was like a board review going that was forwarded by Central Saanich. They wanted sort of like a board review or a committee review of their terms of reference. So I'll find out and I'll bring an update.
Great.
Thank you.
And maybe we could just ask when we pick up the short-term vacation rental topic, which we will around the table here, we could also pick up this question of short-term vacation rentals, I guess under the Agricultural Land Commission, just so we understand what's going on. Thanks.
Good point. Any other comments? Okay, so mover and a seconder. Call the question. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, then we'll move on to Business Arising, page 15, grant and aid. And thank you everyone for your input on helping to decipher where we could allocate these monies. Are there any questions as to what you see on your list here? Councillor Schuster.
Thank you, Councillor Donaldson. I have to say I fully agree with the recommendations you've made in terms of the proposed grant amounts. That was fully within the thinking that I had even before I saw this. And if I welcome further discussion, but I'm happy to make a motion to support this. So.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Schuster.
Sorry, unless there's further discussion,
Okay.
but I will.
Well, it's open up for discussion.
Okay, yeah.
So moved by Councillor Schuken.
Sure.
Seconded by Councillor Gray. Discussion? Any input?
I'll jump in and say that I appreciate the work you've done getting it together. I think it worked. Councillor Epp said let's get all the information together, and I like what I see too here. I think it reflects well in terms of the priorities that we might set. And I look forward to next year maybe having a bit more on the criteria side, and we talked about that. But thanks for the effort on this.
Okay, so so the recommendation is that the committee makes the recommendations to council on the following proposed funding, and we all agree, so I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And then my councillor's report. So I've had a busy weekend. I was in Pender Island this morning, actually overnight. So I arrived home this afternoon, quickly put my notes together for this report. So I'm the vice chair of the Island Links Library Board, which is comprised of Alert Bay, Powell River, I think it's Pender Island is our new member, Salt Spring Island, and then Great Victoria Public Library. And I'm there as a trustee, as well as our CAO is one of the members. So there's 5 voting members. So this last year I was the vice chair, and as of this morning I am now the chair going forward for the next year. The Island Links group they're very small libraries, very interesting on how they all operate, somewhat isolated, but the Island Links brings them together. So it's quite a dynamic group. They have lots of information and ideas, things that they're sharing, relying on each other, things that work and things that don't work. One of the common things that came out of this morning's meeting, which is something we've faced in all of our communities, and that is the mental health and wellness, which is a societal crisis that we're all facing. And these are frontline people. A lot of people are going to libraries for cooling stations, for places that are safe to sleep, as is with our central branch. We've actually hired security in our central branch. But there's a strain on the staff, and they're struggling with how do they deal with the mental health stuff. So we did some brainstorming on that this morning on how we can go forward with that, sharing some ideas that we've done here locally, both in our communities and in different municipalities and the library. And so there's a lot of sharing and caring that goes on in this group, so that they're not feeling so isolated. They pool their resources together too, so they have a better buying power for when they're getting resources to outfit their libraries. Same with accessibility. They don't have the funds always to do that, so I will be, with the Pender Island one, I'll be putting them in touch with some of the individuals from Access West Shore that do consulting, and some grants that they could probably access as well for their, they have 2 employees, and so they're pretty tight on what they can do. Some other things that came about, we had 2 presentations. One was a representative from the Public Library branch of the BC Municipal Affairs. So they were able to share all these things with them, so this can go back up to the government with the federations as to, is there funding available, how do we support staff, that sort of thing. So Adrienne Wass is our representative. She actually lives in Souk, so good person for us to sort of tap into as well. There was a presentation from a local islander in Pender Island who gave a presentation on governance as leadership, and with the idea that leading with your strengths and with your team's support and strengths, as well as respecting the organization structure, which reminds me of what we've talked about with our strategic plan and how we're trying our best to have open governance and following that model. With the agriculture portfolio that I have, I did 2 articles on roadside stands, being that they are a style of home-based business, but mostly to help people understand how to set up a roadside stand, where to put it, so that it's safe, so that it's attractive, because when you're setting up a business, there's, location is everything, but within the municipality, we have a land use bylaw that actually has this. So in my second article, I specifically did not put in the link like I did the first one, but in the second one, I actually wrote out the whole bylaw that we, so people could actually see, I think there's like 5 points of how to set up a roadside stand, and as well as the sign bylaw that goes with that. So hopefully we'll see some more success with that, so people understand that boulevards are not the place for roadside stands, and on the properties they are, and where people park, that sort of thing. So it's pretty clear. And then there were some pictures of some roadside stands. And so I'll follow up with a few more features on some successful businesses, because it is one of those attractions that is another part of our agriculture in Metchosin. With the West Shore Parks and Recreation, we had a presentation from the City of Colwood's climate planner, and she presented gave us a presentation, but also was coming to us to ask about a community building retrofit grant funding from FCM, and it is a matching grant as well. So we're waiting to see what happens with that. There's some equipment replacement and building renovations that will come to in the future, but trying to get the emissions down. Right now, West Shore Parks and Rec contributes 35% emissions just from the equipment they do have. And so we're hoping to hear more about that. And then I've been having a lot of fun actually with the MISC group, which is the Metchosin Invasive Species Cooperative, who are always looking for volunteers. They have a website, and their mandate is to work to restore local ecosystems. So there are monthly work parties, and the next one, which is coming up, is November 8th. And it's UVic's Make a Difference Week from 2 to 4 at Westmont parking lot. So if anybody's interested, let me know, or go to the website and check it out. So that's all I have. There's no correspondence, no bylaws or other business, so I'll ask for adjournment. Sorry?
Sorry, just through the chair to the committee, we're going to be asking for council to ratify the grant made recommendations this evening at the council meeting, just to let the committee know.
Okay, thank you. Do you need anything more from the committee? No. Councillor Ray?
I wonder if tonight's finance meeting, I just want to mention something about finances. But first of all, congratulations on your position as chair of Island Links. I mentioned it I guess it was last week, the CRD water supply master plan. There's a consultation now available for the public to weigh in on, and just to mention it tonight because there's a lot of money involved. It's the decision, there's a decision coming about how much new development will pay for the new infrastructure in the master plan. The overall cost is over $2 billion. Staff today Ms. Hanson put up on our website a link to that so people can look in the news and updates there and find that, or go directly to the CRD website. And there's some information about how the plans work, the plan itself rather, and then how development cost charges work, and how something called municipal assist factor works. All that's laid out there, and it's just a collecting of public views on the situation. And the general idea that the CRD has had is that with new development, the people who benefit will pay. So the idea is that the thought behind development cost charges is existing people would pay for what would improve the existing system, but if there's new infrastructure required for new people joining the water system, that would perhaps best be paid by the new people, the people who would benefit. So when you look at that, you'll see the municipal assist factor is, we're saying existing users would only pay like 1% of the charges, and the development cost charges, they're different depending on the view of the people who put together the paper. But the one to look at, from my perspective, is the cost of the filtration plant, which is about $1 billion of the $2 billion. And it's largely required because we're going to open up the leach watershed, and the water coming down there needs to be filtered. And so when you look at it, you can look at the numbers and see what you think and provide comment. That would be great if people would do that.
Thank you for that. I did actually print off the media release for that, so pleased to hear it's going to be on our website, and that survey is open till July 5th. And there's also a webinar, I believe. CRD is hosting a virtual information session for the development community. I don't know if that's open just to June 20th from 2:30 till 4. So that's all on our website. So thanks for flagging that. I appreciate it.
Great. And then the only other thing, just we heard from Jim McPherson today about the tax brief, and I agree with him. It's a bit could be a little bit better done, but it's a big shift now. We're shifting from not having the police in our tax to having the police in the tax. So, if I may, it's kind of understandable. It's not quite there yet, but I think next year we should probably look at that a little bit closer and tie it together, just so it's clear for everybody. But I'm glad to have the notices out, and everybody knows what their taxes are. But it's just a bit confusing, that one aspect. So we'll look at that through the year, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments before we adjourn? Okay, can I have a move to adjourn the finance meeting, please?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Gray, second by Councillor Shukin. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.